everybody, Adam here. So today I wanted to talk about the topic of why I am quitting lifting weights. And you might say to yourself, hold up, Adam, this is a crucial core part of your Himbo identity. How could you possibly say this? This is madness. How could you be talking about not lifting weights anymore? Don't you just love lifting weights? And the answer is yes, of course I love lifting weights. Of course I wish that I could just lift weights forever. But today I wanted to talk over my reasons for why I'll be lifting less. Quitting, you could say. Before we get started, don't hesitate to smash that like button. Of course, help level up the channel and help bless all Himbos around the world with no gains. Wait, is that supposed to be extra gains? All the gains in the world? I don't know, something like that. This is a very confusing video, isn't it? I'm also generally accepting new online fitness coaching clients, so if you're interested in some gains for yourself, don't hesitate to reach out via the link below and I will be in touch with you. So if you have been following me on social media or if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I have been on a sustained weight cut, which I started doing during the pandemic. And in particular, I actually made a video talking specifically about how and why I would never cut weight ever. And then I look like a stupid idiot because I immediately turned around and did exactly that. The reality was simply that the pandemic forced me to change my priorities and just my training style. And as a result, I was doing things that I would not have expected that I would ever have done before that happened, that thing that happened. Without being able to go into a gym consistently, I started working out from home, relying more on body weight, calisthenic, gymnastic style workouts. And that just meant that it made a lot more sense for me to cut weight and be a lot lighter so that I could have a little bit more of an advantage in those movements. And while I was doing that, I was like, well, why not then also just try and get super, super lean for like the first time in my life ever, really? Prove to myself that I can do it. You know, maybe not really prepare for a bodybuilding competition or anything like that, but just get super lean for the heck of it and see how that goes. You know, just pick an arbitrary number, go for it, see what I can do. So initially I started out at around 200 pounds and I cut down to around 175 pounds. And that was, you know, just leaning out, just supporting, again, my style of training. And then after that, I was at maintenance for a while, sat at that for a while. And then I was kind of like a little bit discouraged because I was like, well, this is kind of feels like the limits of what I can really do myself, you know, with kind of the skill set that I have available. I didn't really want to get super precise with my diet and take things even further. Then along came the release of the Macro Factor app, which has been really marvelous, made it a lot easier for me to manage my diet. And as a result, I was like, okay, I will go ahead and try pushing it further. And that was when I really got inspired to just try and get as lean as possible, see if I could approach what you would call, you know, bodybuilding, stage-ready style leanness. So this was a lot easier in some ways than I expected and also a lot harder in others. I'm going to be doing a full video about exactly what it took to get this level of lean that I currently am sitting at. I'm filming this video at basically the peak of my leanness, just probably a few days before I'm going to be done. And I'm going to do, of course, probably a longer video about just exactly what it took, all the difficulties I had along the way. But suffice to say that I am exhausted. I have been exhausted for a long period of time. To give you an idea of my training schedule, I am basically lifting 5 days a week, and I am basically doing cardio 7 days a week. I started off, you know, basically aiming for about 10,000 steps per day as a kind of baseline. And I told myself that what I would do is I would add about 500 steps per week as my metabolism continued to decrease from losing weight and as I got deeper into the cut, simply so that I could offset that loss of my metabolism, keep my metabolism high, keep things manageable in terms of just being able to eat a bit more and not feel like I'm just eating nothing all the time. This ended up getting up to the point where as of right now, I'm doing basically 22,000 steps per day. And so to give you an idea, this means that I spend maybe about 3 hours doing workouts at home and then about another 4 to 6 hours doing cardio. So that basically takes up my entire day. And this is really only possible because I have a lot of equipment at home that makes it very easy for me to integrate this into my work day. So I have a under desk treadmill that I can use to get steps in. I also have a little ergonomic stepper thingy which I can use. I typically use that when I'm sitting down in front of the TV. And so that basically, it's not quite the same thing as getting steps in. It's not quite as hard, but I count it that way anyway. I track it as, the number of steps that I'm getting in. And so that combination of having the under desk treadmill for this desk and having the stepper for when I'm, downstairs hanging out in front of the TV means that I'm basically always able to be working on my steps. And so, yeah, maybe it takes me 4 to 6 hours per day, but I'm constantly doing other things while I'm doing that. So it's really not, the worst thing in the world, but it is still a huge, huge time commitment. It takes a huge chunk of time out of my day. And it also kind of limits the kinds of things that I'm able to do. For example, I couldn't be filming this video right now while also getting my steps in. And that means that things like filming these videos kind of fell by the wayside a little bit because, it's kind of like, okay, well, I can only do this once I'm done getting all my steps in for the day. And then, of course, that ends up, being really late at night, and then other things come up, or, work is really difficult that day, or whatever the case is. And so as a result, it just kind of narrows the window of time that I have to really focus on side projects, filming videos, and so on. And I cannot emphasize enough that I am exhausted a lot of the time. Like, just recovering from this level of cardio, this number of steps every single day, it's really taxing. There are days that I wake up and I just kind of my legs don't want to work. Like, they don't want to go places, and I don't really take days off. And so this is not something I recommend to anybody. This is not, I would really honestly, if I were doing this again, I would probably have started off, with 10 to 15,000 steps and just stopped there. Like, I wouldn't have gone any further, and I would have just focused on kind of the diet end of things more than the activity end of things. Because, really there are diminishing returns after a certain point, and, I am certainly hitting those diminishing returns. It's really, detracting from my life in many ways. And of course, this also just means that, I'm basically always busy. I always have to be doing some kind of workout. There's always something I'm behind on, whether it's work or working out. It just is such a large time commitment. It makes it hard to do things like, go out, hang out socially, do all kinds of other things, because I've always got to look for ways to get in more workouts, get in more cardio, etc. It's also something where my diet ended up taking longer than I expected. I had initially planned for this to be about a 6-month diet phase with a few maintenance breaks in between. And realistically, things happened, holidays, kids' birthdays, things just ended up pushing it back. And every time, it's like, okay, I would go for maintenance, and then I wouldn't really do maintenance. I would just kind of, have a few cheat meals, have a few cheat days in a row. I would regain some weight. I'd spend another, 1 or 2 weeks basically working off that weight that I had regained. And then by that time, it's, a month later, and now once again, it's another birthday or another thing to throw me off. So there was definitely a period of time where essentially I was getting super, super close to my goal weight, which really was ultimately an arbitrary one, but it was something that I had selected and that I decided to stick to. And so, basically I was super, super close to my goal weight, and I was basically just bouncing up and down, kind of really, I was still making progress, but it was very much like a, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. And it very often felt like I wasn't making any progress at all. And that was deeply frustrating, especially as the diet, began to stretch on and on. So ultimately it ended up being more like a 9-month cut. And again, there were periods of maintenance in there. There was plenty of periods of, cheating, going off diet. And that's fine. That's normal. It was just something where, when you are doing this for so long, it gets a little bit psychologically and mentally taxing as well, because you've basically just been in such a long period that you haven't just really been able to eat all the things that you want when you want to eat them. So it is safe to say that this level of training, this level of diet is not sustainable for me, and probably not really for anybody, honestly. I overdid a lot of things. I kind of did a lot of things just to prove that I could. I, basically went well beyond a lot of, what I would recommend to clients and what the best evidence-based practice kind of tells us we should be doing. I was just like, I'm going to try and do the most possible because I'm a himbo. I'm just trying to do, I'm just trying to be the best at everything, trying to try the hardest and all that. And so as a result, again, I definitely made a lot of mistakes. This was a really good process in terms of learning from it, in terms of getting better. So in the future, I know not to make those mistakes. But, it's one of those things where, Somebody can tell you all the time not to touch the hot stove, but once you touch the hot stove for yourself, once you've experienced it for yourself, you now go, okay, yeah, that was a terrible idea. So I know now. I have internalized those lessons. I now understand that the things that I have been saying for the longest time, I was saying them for a good reason, and I should have listened to myself. That is the sad, sad life of a himbo. So I've made a recent video about the topic of maintenance training and basically how it takes a lot less effort to maintain a certain level of strength, a certain level of muscle mass than it took to build those qualities in the first place. And so the reality is that it actually takes a lot less effort than you would think to maintain your hard work. And that gives you the strategic possibility of doing other things. That gives you the strategic possibility of saying something like, okay, I'm going to draw back, I'm going to train less for a while, I'm not going to actively train, I'm going to focus on other stuff in my life and let that become my primary focus for a while. And that is precisely what I am going to be doing. I've been training so hard for so long, I've been focused on my diet so hard for so long, I am just really looking forward to taking a break. And so with that in mind, I am going to be quitting lifting for the most part, quitting cardio for the most part for an extended period of time, probably a couple months or so. And so what that means realistically is, yes, I will still be lifting, I will still be training. So I will probably be training, hard, like once or twice a week. I'll still be doing cardio every day, but it's going to be, something like 7,500 or, up to 10,000 steps per day, as opposed to the 22,000 plus that I have been doing currently. It's also going to mean occasional light maintenance workouts. I still do my light daily workouts, which, basically are very short and just involve one set of a variety of exercises, just so that I can kind of, keep my muscles moving. But I don't really consider those to be serious workouts because they're so short. They, take me 10, 15, 20 minutes, so I can get them out of the way very quickly. Those aren't really what I think of as my real workouts. Instead of lifting, I am simply going to focus on other stuff. I am going to sleep more. I have been exhausted. I have not really been sleeping enough. It is something where I'm just looking forward to having more energy to focus on other things. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to focus on side projects. I said that I was going to be working on writing a novel, and then I just got so exhausted by this entire process that I put maybe a month's worth of work into it and then just fell off. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that, making more videos, making better videos, putting more effort and time into editing them, and so on. Just so many things that I have just not been able to focus on because so much of my mental, physical energy has gone into this project, which I expected to be faster, easier, etc. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you. As always, if you like the video, don't hesitate to comment down below. Let me know what you want to see in future videos. Smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all those other wonderful things that you do when you like a video. Tell all the himbos around the world about this video. Maybe quit lifting yourself if you've been lifting too much. Know your limitations. A self-aware himbo may be a bit of an oxymoron, but that's a good himbo, isn't it? Let's hope so. Have a great week. I will talk to you all next week. Have a good one.